The button is hit. So welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Benjamin Wan, and I'm chilling with Sky once again. This is Season 2, Episode 2. What's the subject, Sky?
Well, the subject... I don't know. We got a lot of short notice hiccups that weren't really problems.
Yeah.
I think this will be the best time to throw that out there, but if you want to be a guest or you want to throw down and debate with me and Ben,
yep.
Comment or, email us. I don't know. We should put our handle somewhere in this.
Yeah.
This link. You're seeing this. Yeah.
I was thinking about setting up a Natives in America podcast email at Gmail or something, but that has not happened. So right now, for the time being, if you're interested in being a guest or a debater, a master debater, or something like that, if you want to be on, anybody, we're kind of welcome for anybody. We're looking for stories. We're looking for just hangouts, and we're looking for people who are doing interesting stuff, whether it be art or jobs. They have an interesting job, or you just want to come on and talk about things we've already talked about. So, if that interests you, you should go on YouTube and look up the Reservation Radio Network and leave a comment on a video, either on the video or on our website, and we'll eventually find it. I check it every week. It just goes along with the job of putting these podcasts up. I check out the website. So, contact us.
Yeah. Stories from my stomach, too.
Yeah.
Stories from my stomach at Gmail.
There you go. So that's probably the best way right now is Sky's email.
Stories from my stomach at Gmail. All one word.
There you go. So contact Sky, and then we'll get your phone number. You do not have to be here in the room. The way we've been doing this is over the phone. It's kind of the only way we've been able to pull this off. Like, I think in the beginning we waited so long just trying to do it in person, and it just wouldn't work. So the way we finally figured it out is I can mic my telephone and mic myself, and then that's how we record it. And the way it would work is we would just call you and do a three-way call. Or, the best way would be in person, but what I'm saying is we can work it out one way or another so that we can podcast all on the same day. And we usually do it on Wednesdays, so Wednesday evenings. So make contact with us if you're interested, and we'll bring you on.
Yeah. And comment if you have any ideas, too, on the episodes.
Yeah, if there's something you want us to talk about.
Appreciate the feedback.
Yeah. No, I love any kind of feedback we can get.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting podcast or episode because we're kind of in the current. We're sort of in the now with what we're discussing.
Yeah.
Because this is like fresh. I mean, we're a few days behind when it actually happened, but
yeah.
It's kind of we're using what happened as a base to start what we want to talk about. But I had no idea. Monday morning, I believe it was Monday morning. Yeah, I was back in my routine of working, and so I had no idea of what was happening in Washington. in the world. It was just sort of, I turn it off, and then it feels like when I come home, then I'm able to check my media or my social media or actually see a TV. So I was sort of just, I went through my whole day without not knowing what was going on. And I come home to see well, they were saying protesters attacking the Capitol, and they were calling them thugs. But I think because I was watching CNN, they were phrasing it a different way. I think depending on where you get your news, you sort of hear it phrased differently. Even if it's not even news, it might even just be like social media. I don't know, man. The way we get news nowadays is sometimes satire. Like it's the real thing, but you're getting another voice where it's almost comedic or witty. So I was confused and just sort of just kind of angry, let down, you know, but this also sort of like expecting this to happen too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you want to say your account of finding out, but what is your take in everything that just went down this week? Because
yeah, it was.
It's like fresh, right? Like
yeah.
This is a current event that's happened.
It was probably about 3 days ago, maybe
yeah.
2. I mean, it's midnight now, so it's kind of hard to track. I was told by my baby's mama. She said that like she watches the news. I don't really watch. Like I don't even. The only TV I watch is like Netflix and Prime. Like I don't pay for cable or anything, so. And I don't really like regularly go check the news, so I wasn't even aware of all this. And she kept telling me, like she always updates me when she drops the boy off. You know, hey, so and so is doing this. This is happening, and she said that. I think the day before, she was saying that you know, Trump's pulling all this crap. She was saying she was a little worried or scared that, you know, something was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think any time that I did watch the news, like, this is a common thing that Trump would say is, oh, we got to storm this. You know, I want you guys to go attack this place or something like that. We got to bring them down. And, like, people were going for it. And I think all these supporters of Trump, they were pissed off that he lost the...
Yeah.
He lost the presidency, and, you know, Trump's not accepting it, and neither are his followers, and they're all pissed off and, you know, looking to put all that anger and energy towards something, and all it took was him saying, you know, storm the gates. Go out and attack this place, and what I don't understand is, why they weren't waiting for him, you know, like why it got that far that quick. Like there had to be someone in power or whatever that was listening to this debate. Like I guess it's like, all right, there's a threat, but how seriously do they take that threat? You know, like, oh, he's just saying that because he always says that. You know, like, oh, he always says that.
Yeah.
And then, boom, they fucking did it. They bum rushed our Capitol buildings. The House of Representatives, right? The Senate buildings?
Yeah, I mean...
I've been there and took pictures in front of the
I've
stairs.
been there too.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like I was trying to remember all the places there.
No, that was my confusion because, like, I remember going there and it being this like highly respected place that you know you were just kind of like you were lucky enough to just be there.
Yeah.
Like I guess you kind of felt the prestige. And then it's like, is that the same place? Like where these guys are, you know, it's like they were saying, you know, and what was kind of interesting was, you know, coming home to seeing the aftermath rather than when it was more fresh.
Yeah.
You were hearing everybody sort of kind of, I don't know, not to say they were in on it, but it was just kind of like all that shit that went down. It just kind of, man, it just kind of painted a nasty picture for American history.
Yeah.
And kind of because it was so wrong and so like just kind of like everybody just kind of already had to immediately say this is wrong. So I was kind of hearing the aftermath of they're calling them thugs and domestic terrorists, which is a unique term. I was like, this term should have been brought up a long time ago, but it was these new terms and calling them thugs, and it was just sort of we're already in that point where it was like this was a mistake, you guys fucked up.
Yeah.
But then it was also and it's not the nonchalantness of it, but it was just kind of this where it was kind of hard to deny that white privilege isn't a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was sort of the realness of it because, you know, you didn't really see much consequence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to say violence, but it was just.
I heard that a lot. That the Black Lives Matter group were faced with, you know, hoses and rubber bullets and fucking tear gas. And then this group that's almost entirely white was just allowed to start smashing windows, and there was nobody standing between them and the building. You know, I heard a lot of people go, well, if it were black people, we all would have been shot up there, and it wasn't. You know, these guys weren't. And, you know, I don't like to think in those terms, but fuck, man, it is. Like, what? Like, what? Like, where were the guards? Where were the teams of riot police? You know, armed to the teeth with shields and armor and smoke bombs, you know? Like, where were they?
Yeah,
and they weren't there. They just kept going. Yeah, the armored vehicles, like, you know, that crazy riot breaking up sound gun that they have.
Yeah.
Like, none of that shit was used, and it was so unused that these fuckers made it inside. Now, all I could think was like, man, that's your guys' building. Like, it's it's ours. I mean, I don't know. I've talked enough shit, lately. In my older days, I've talked a bunch of shit about the Senate and how, like, they're a bunch of old-ass men that, you know, still remember the good old days of slavery and all that. And, like, you know, they're supposed to represent the majority and they're supposed to be looking out for us when really they're lining their pockets. You know, they're doing as little as possible while trying to make as much money as possible, and they're not actually looking out for the good of the good of the people. So I've had plenty of times where I'm like, man, like we need to clean house up there. We need to get rid of everybody because they're all these privileged people that like how there's a shit ton of people out of work, and they're like, oh, we're gonna shut the government down. It's like we're not gonna agree so much that we're gonna have to shut the government down. And then it's like, they're debating about sending money to relief funds to help people, while at the same time they don't understand what it's like not to have money. They're making plenty of money in their big houses with their government jobs, and so it's easy for them to debate it and deny it. Like, no, we're not going to send them money. They don't need it. We don't need to give it. And it's because they're fine. They're eating. They're sucking on the teat. They're all good. While there's a bunch of people that they don't actually represent. They don't actually care for, and people are hurting, and there's no support. So it's like, on one hand, I was like, oh, this is awful. This is stupid. This makes us look weak. That our buildings are vulnerable like that. Especially in D.C.
Yeah.
I mean, really, guys?
I didn't think of it like that.
Well, I saw it that way. It makes us look weak, and there's plenty of people out there, powers, other world powers that are looking for an opening to fuck us over. They've always held the grudge, and here we are, showing them that just a small group of people can go and get right up on the stairs and start breaking shit and sitting in the. I'm looking at shit right now on Google, and it's like people smeared crap on the walls, and there's people sitting in the desks, and it's like come on, guys. Like, so there's that side of it. I'm like, this is our building. Why are you smashing our own shit? While at the same time, I'm totally fed up with government. So it's like, all right, where do I really feel about this? And I think my whole thing was. I think my biggest objection was how bad it makes us look. And at the same time, it's like our president called for this, and 5 people died. Why the fuck is he still in office? If he called for the death of these 5 people, he's like, oh, go and do this horrible atrocity, and people died as a result, and he's still our fucking president? That's, I don't know. It's a strange occurrence.
I think that's where what I've been freaking out about is the damage you can do, and because we already know who won, and majority of our eyes, at least publicly, has been declared, yeah, Biden won, so Trump lost.
Yeah,
that happens, but you know what? What it seems like the result of all this is that's a sore loser. Like,
oh yeah,
you lose a round and you start bitching. You actually get people on your side, because that's what I'm like. He's still the president, so he can kind of still stir up shit. And I don't know, I guess where you stand and trying to grab that, it's like he kind of just led these guys into a fire to just kind of burn, but yet in their eyes, because somebody was saying the revolution, and I don't know, a lot of times I'm just kind of like, man, our generation, or the generations that are trying so hard to be history, but it's like, this ain't a revolution, man. This is disrespect.
Yeah, it's anarchy.
even like, kind of feeling, I guess the anger, because we, like, when Trump won, then the world didn't go crazy, like, it was like, this is the president, like,
yeah, Trump, of all people.
So it was just kind of, I guess it was like, I wrote down in my notebook, the power of the president, like, the power we give them, and the power they have, and just what he can do on, like, Twitter, and, like, his, how he was able to rally up, his supporters to go that route. And
he even, what blew my mind was he even had Mexicans supporting him. There was some group, it was like Hispanics for Trump or something like that. And all I could think was, man, that man does not give two shits about you. Why are you supporting him? He's building a wall right now to keep you and everybody else out. Like, it was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. But it's the power he had as a president and as this guy who, this pussy-grabbing guy.
I mean, I don't know, man. I think that's where, like, our country, it's like, we're in such a decline that our president is just this raunchy dude that, that can stir up all this madness, and yet, even his loss causes ruckus, but, like, I mean, a lot of it, I think of it as, I don't know, like, we don't, not all of us are taught, like, when we lose, or there's a chance we might not get what we want. And in the world, not in the real world, but in this possibility when we wake up, we can do what we want, and we can have these high hopes. Somebody might have the power to just fuck it all up. But then, I guess, what do you feel about, I guess, the consequence? Like, if you decided to hop in and think it's funny, or, to feel that you're, like, overriding democracy, like, what are the consequences of that? Like, people stealing shit, like...
Well, I was thinking about when those guys, the Boston bombers, bombed the race, the Boston Marathon.
The marathon, yeah.
I think it was within a week they fucking identified him and shot him dead. Like, they fucking found him, like, quickly. And all I could think was, all these dumbasses are on this camera, the world is watching, and they're all going to be identified. And all I could think was, like, fuck, I would want to be wearing a mask or something to cover my face, because I wouldn't... They'll come get you. They're going to find you. And just like I'm thinking, like, I'm looking at Google right now, and I'm looking through the stuff, and it's like, people are already being arrested for, they're taking part in this. Especially the people who made it in.
Well, I heard that there was a post from the FBI asking for help to identify, like, who was involved, and yet You know, it's like the government, when it's something that involves a minority, it's like they're on the ball with the investigation. You know, hell, like, look at Osama bin Laden when they got him. You know, they're tracking him overseas in a cave. You know, so it's like suddenly you need help to identify these guys that were streaming it as they were doing it. You know, on their Instagram. You know, so it's just sort of like, come on now.
Yeah.
Like,
come on now.
Like, why are you suddenly, you know, this prestigious thing needing help to identify these? Pretty much, you know, at least from what I could see, you know, majority of them were white, and not to be offensive, but it was just like it was just kind of why is it that they're just kind of let in? You know, why could they just kind of go through? You know, because I saw videos of cops just like, yeah, go ahead, come through.
Jesus.
And you know, they broke windows to get out. You know, it's just.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Stuff that, like, if it was, you know, if it was I don't even know how to say it, like, minority or black guy or, you know, native guy, even on the premise, it's like they will have all eyes on them.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was like...
And they'd be shot. Like, that's the thing. That's the difference. Is they would have been shot. Even if it were a rubber bullet, they would have been shot. So it's crazy. You know, I think back to before he was elected. And I've said it before on this podcast, like, I thought it was a joke when he was running. Like, I was like, oh, this fucking guy. It's like Gary Coleman ran for president once. And I was like, yeah, he's not gonna fucking get it. I was like, why the fuck would that guy get it? Like, that's a joke. Al Sharpton ran. You know, he ran to be president.
Al Sharpton?
Yeah, and it was like, all right, that's a joke too. Motherfucker's too far off the deep end. And then I thought about this. He's been in movies. He's like a failed rich man. He had a TV show where he's, you know, firing people. And my whole thought was like, all right, this is a joke. Like, he's not going to get any traction and he's not going to get elected. And then, you know, shortly after he got elected, he started becoming the representative. And I was like, holy crap, like, this is happening. This is real. And when it finally got narrowed down to two people, it was him or Hillary, I was in a real, you know, pickle there. I was like, fuck, like, I really don't want Hillary to be president. Like, any lady but her. Like Hillary wasn't taking care of business with Bill. And then, you know, later on in her life, she started becoming this, like, behind-the-scenes figure, you know, pulling off shady-ass deals with, you know, some badass people. And all I could think was she's a snake in the grass, and if we elected her, she would have just, you know, went back to business as usual, doing crazy-ass shit, but with more power. And, so towards the end, I was like, fuck, well, maybe Trump is the devil we know, you know, like, maybe we will expect everything he does because he's a piece of shit and he doesn't hide it. You know, with Hillary, she puts a smile on her face, but she's a snake in the grass. So I was in a real conundrum like way back then, and I remember talking with Derek, and he's like, "Hey, if I could vote, I'd vote for him." And I was like, "Why? Like why?" I kept asking him why, and he finally said, well, he quoted that the Dark Knight, the Joker, and he's just like, some people just want to see the world burn. And he's like, I think he was saying that he thought Trump would, cause this big upheaval in the government, and shit would blow up to the point where we're forced to make changes. And here we are, 4 years later, and he's having people storm the Capitol building. I think I heard at one point, I don't know when it was, I think it was like 18 something, the last time something like this happened, the Capitol building is being stormed.
Yeah.
So, it's like, holy shit, guys, like, this is history in the making. And all I could think was like, damn, man, Trump really is a big piece of shit, and he's called for the death of these people. Maybe, whether it was indirect or not, that's a bad man. He set these lunatics out into the world to do damage, and they did. And people died because of it. So, I don't know, man. Like,
yeah, I guess that's the kind of where it's very gray, because majority of what we saw was, a bunch of people just kind of getting away with a bunch of shenanigans.
yeah.
Like taking pictures on people's desks.
Yeah.
And stealing whatever, gavels, like silly shit. Like,
yeah.
Like, we thought that was all it was. And then, like, no, there was actually people that did die. And even talking about it, it's not disrespect, or because everyone has their right to feel how they felt. But how I also felt was there was a lot of like disorganized. Like, it wasn't organized, and what was gonna happen with all of that happening, and what's the shitty part about it, but it's kind of real about it, is, like I said, like I kind of caught the aftermath of it, and there was this guy saying like, yeah, America's still gonna live on, and we're gonna have this, we're still gonna do our meetings, and we're still gonna have Congress, and he was pretty much saying like we're still gonna go on. And then later on, I see a picture of people cleaning up the mess, and I think there was not one white person in it. It was a lot of, I think it was a lot of like Latino, Mexican, Black, like, and that's what's always this argument you hear from people in America, where it's like, oh, we have these people coming and stealing our jobs, but a lot of times it's like they're not stealing your jobs. They're willing to do jobs that you probably won't want to do.
Yeah.
And regardless of the pay, they're going to do it. You might already have a standard because of where you're at in the country, or how you feel where you're at. But I don't know, it was the awkward thing to see and then to feel, because this guy is saying like, And it probably was. Like, they probably cleaned up that office and had things back to normal and running within the day. You know, I bet you the office is all fixed up. Because they can move that fast, but it's like, I don't know. The American, culture is, I don't know, it's almost going through a rough patch. There's a lot of, there's a lot of turmoil or commotion going on because, look, you have these guys that they probably felt patriotic doing this, and yet, and the history books, when I look back at it, is what is it going to be? Are they going to be really patriotic guys that are really standing up for something, or are they going to be just fools that, that damage shit,
Yeah. That's an interesting idea. I didn't even think about it. Like, how is the history books going to write this? I wouldn't be surprised. Like, there was a ton of Trump supporters. They're wearing the flags and the hats and all that crap. I wouldn't be surprised if some people that were in that crowd were just there taking advantage of everything going out of control. Like, they were there just to fuck shit up. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't necessarily Trump supporters. I bet some people were just there like, hey, there's a riot, I'm gonna go get in on that. Because it was weird. Like, I was watching it live, and there was a bunch of people just kind of hanging around, like it was another day in the park. There's people chilling on the grass. There's people, walking around, playing on their phones, just casual. Like, there wasn't this big thing going on just right there behind them. It was crazy to see, and all I could think was like, all right, the cameras are on you people. They're they got your names, they got your faces, and they'll have your names. And if you're any of these people who are busting up the government, they're gonna get you eventually.
Yeah. When were you there? Or when did you get to go there?
It was when I went back to join Dr. Whitty. I went back after college. After I got certified, and I went to do a shadow program for being certified as an EMT. I had to go shadow someone in the emergency room. And while I was there, I went up there to go say hello to them and let them know I was in medicine. I was coming back. And she's like, hey, we take college students now. So I was like, oh shit. I was like, all right, well, let me join up. And halfway through the program, she called me in her office, and I went up. It always made me nervous when I was going to her office. I don't know why. Maybe I always felt like I was up to something. I don't know.
Nah, I felt she was a big deal.
She is in her own right, man. She's a great person. She's really, cares about the students, helping people out. And she called me in her office, and she's like, hey, you feel like going to Washington, D.C.? I was like, what? Like my sister had been there. My mom had been there a ton. Like, my mom worked at the Pentagon. And she rode on yeah, and she rode on Air Force 2 with Bobby Kennedy, and so my family's a little connected with DC, and I had never been. So she told me she was sending 3 Mexican students to DC and wanted to know if I wanted to join them. Like, just kind of offered up, hey, you want to do this? And they were going to go to the NIH, which I had never heard of, it's the National Institutes of Health. It's where they do a lot of the big hospital research in D.C. Well, it's in Bethesda, Maryland. And she's like, they're going to go tour the NIH, and if you want to join them, you're welcome to go. I was like, hell yeah. Like, yeah, I don't even have to think about it. I'm going. I want to go. And we went up and toured the NIH, and while we were there, I was running around checking out the monuments. I didn't realize, like, this is how out of my mind I am. I thought the Senate House was the White House when I went up there. And I had to realize, no, it wasn't. So I've never seen the White House, but I hung out in front of the Senate House. And I remember after talking to the people who run the NIH, they were talking about, summer programs that they had. And I was like, you know what, I'm coming back. Like, there's no way I'm not coming back. I'm going to figure out a way to come back. And I did. And I got into another program, so I went back again. Like, I lived in Rockville, Maryland for a spell, and the whole time I was working at the NIH. So, pretty cool stuff. That's how I made it. I just got an offer out of the blue. Like, Dr. Whitty's like, hey, if you want to go, you can go. And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, so you got to go.
Yeah, I just
How old are you?
joined in. It was like I went towards the end of 2013. So I was 18 in 2004. So 27, 28. Jesus, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
I'm up there.
You're getting there, bro.
Old guy.
So you were at the Senate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, I had to ask too, because in Washington there's so many monuments and all these prestigious buildings.
Yeah.
Like I think that was the kind of the real part about it was like, hey, these guys are over there.
Yeah.
Because when I was there,
it was like, holy shit, I was there.
It was just kind of like what was going on? Like, was it that chaotic that they couldn't handle that?
Yeah, I'm surprised they even got that far. It's a freaking trip, man.
No, but what was crazy too is when I saw like in other countries, they were posting like portraying the American government like they were tougher, and yet what we saw was like a lot of there's like some of the cops that were taking selfies, and some of the cops that were helping some of the elders kind of like walk through the stairs. That was kind of interesting image to see.
There,
it was like
cops were helping elders join in.
Yeah, there was like an older lady that had made it into the Senate, but then like coming down into the stairs, she needed help, like assistance getting down, and it was
wow,
like this SWAT guy, or I don't know if it was a guy or lady, but it was somebody working for the cops or the government, but it was like assisting an elder person, like making sure they got down the stairs.
What a trip.
So there was this kind of just this bizarre like vibe. It was like why aren't you like throwing that lady down and
stomping her out,
kicking her in the face, you know? But like, you know, but
God damn.
I don't know. It's just sort of this like, but then there's also kind of like this darkness to it. Yeah, well, look, it was. Well, maybe because like we know like if it were somebody like a native person or black, somebody that was just attacking the building would get a far worse treatment,
Yeah.
And that was kind of where it was like, hey, like why? I don't know. It's just
That's interesting. I didn't see that. I saw pictures of the old lady, and there's already a ton of memes about all that shit. Like, the guy in like the buffalo hat or whatever. The guy with the buffalo hat.
Yeah, I saw that.
My buddy Jack, he sent me a meme where I guess they were interviewing that guy, and he's talking about Native Americans and the bull and the buffalo.
Yeah.
And the meme was like all those scenes from Dances with Wolves, and they're like, "Who is this fucking guy? Like who the hell told him that?" I was cracking up at that. Like, damn, it's crazy how quickly memes start showing up.
Yeah.
Like quick to make fun of this situation. I guess that's kind of nice. Like we can automatically make light of it, even though it's this big crazy thing. I mean, that's kind of nice, don't you think?
It's nice, but then it's also, I think pretty much what I saw, the whole, like, if we don't know history, you're bound to repeat it.
Yeah.
And I think incidents like this have happened before, and they get swept under the rug. That's what I was saying before, like, in the future, is this just going to be an incident swept under the rug, or it's never going to get mentioned again, like, but, then again, it's like, a lot of people are probably anticipating that shit. Like, I saw some people using Dances with the Wolves, like, clips, and then clipping it to that, and it's funny, yeah, but it's also sort of like a lot of this shit has been happened already, so where it's like we already got the material to make the jokes long before the shit has happened. So sometimes it's interesting, when it's clever and it makes you laugh, but other times it's just like, yeah, the meme culture is sort of different,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I guess what are memes now? Like,
what do you mean?
I guess we live in memes weren't a thing like in the 90s.
No.
Were they?
I don't think so. It's kind of like a late.
So where like what do memes do to the culture?
Well, I think what I was getting at about it being a good thing, and making light of the situation. I think if we lose our ability to laugh at ourselves, if we lose our ability to make fun of situations, if we lose our humor, like we kind of lose a bit of our humanity. We lose a bit of like what makes us us. And as long as we can laugh about it, it makes it kind of okay, makes it acceptable. Now, what happened there probably wasn't probably isn't acceptable. You know, it's not acceptable. But you know, we can automatically start laughing about it. And I think that the ability to laugh at stuff, I think the memes are a good addition to the culture. Like, I think they make it so we can laugh at ourselves. You know, we can laugh at each other and we can just laugh together.
Yeah.
And the ability to still do that in the face of this weird thing that happened is a good thing. Like, let the memes roll, you know. We're not... I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose that part of it. Like, if we... Say the internet or whoever has the role of power decides, all right, no more memes. They're destructive and they hurt people's feelings. Then, you know, we've become too fucking serious about ourselves. And then that's something we lose, you know, if it gets taken away. It's like, fuck, this isn't a police state. It shouldn't be, and it never, like, we shouldn't give up all control to the government, you know? And I think memes is like a form of expression and artistry that's part of us now. It's not going away. And it also falls in that place of, you know, the right to free speech.
Yeah.
So I call these people who are raiding the Senate House shitheads or whatever. I don't know what I called them. But I'm sure in their minds they were doing the patriotic thing. So I'm kind of torn, you know. It's like the whole idea behind the United States is freedom of speech and freedom of expression and freedom to protest peacefully. But at the same time, it's like, all right, so I don't like those people, but they're also Americans, and it's American to be accepting of these things. Like, I don't know, it's in the book. Along with what we also talked about in the last couple of podcasts, you know, the merciless Indian savages. It's like it's all in this sacred document. You know, protecting rights and all that. And although I don't approve of what happened, it's still part of us. It's still part of the culture, and those people are also American citizens. So it's like, I don't want to draw any hard lines or take a side in this thing. It's just like, well, that was fucked up, and then let's move on. Like, eventually, you know, in the same day, it finally got shut down. So, you know, I would like to say no harm, no foul, but people died. And I think that's the worst of it. Like, I'm pretty sure at least one of the people, I guess the lady, the first one they reported dead, was just trying to work that day, you know, trying to do her job. And then something Trump said somewhere else earlier in the day led to her death, which is fucked up. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was a good thing. You know, it had to happen, but at the same time, it's like, man, you guys took it too far. I see nothing wrong with protesting on the stairs of the Senate House, but once they started destroying the building and whatever else, you know, breaking in, it's like, all right, well, now you're just hurting yourselves. You know, now people are dead. And everybody who went there to storm it that day are a part of that. They're partially responsible. Like, would you agree that, you know, murder or, you know, causing death, manslaughter, is one of the worst crimes that can happen? One of the worst things that we could do? You know, cause the death of another person.
I mean, I guess that's the... I mean, I think that's where it gets confusing, because so long when it's anything else but this event, there has been deaths, you know, like,
Yeah.
all this time, you know, like, the kids getting shot because cops thinking they got a weapon, and yet they're not even doing anything. They're just innocent in there, you know. But because of who they are, or maybe how they look, you know, they're a suspect. So the cops' reaction is to just take matters into their own hands, and it felt like that with all the riots going on throughout last year, and you know, just sort of this anger from cops, where cops were, it almost seemed like they were enjoying the violent, like, contact, to where now you saw cops like just getting pushed around.
Yeah.
And
they were definitely outnumbered.
Holding back, but yeah, like, maybe conflicted, you know, maybe they felt a conflict of interest for once, to where it was like, and I guess that's where it gets messy, because it's like, some of those protesters that were feeling they were doing the right thing, how they were treated, like, a minority has felt that treatment years and years.
Yeah.
Long time, you know, so it's like, I don't know, man, it was just sort of just like our country is, there might be some that are hurting, but yeah, there might be some that have been hurt that figured it out a long time ago. I don't know, it just, yeah, I guess it's just, I don't know, is this the demise of the country, or is this kind of an asterisk again that we kind of, throughout time, we managed to kind of sweep under the rug? Shenanigans. Was it shenanigans, or was
it was pure shenanigans, for sure.
So the word revolution is...
I think a revolution would involve more people, for starters. And I think it would involve war. That was more like anarchy and shenanigans. I think revolution's like a group of people going up against the bigger people or something. Like there's a large group of people upset and pissed off and, you know, attacking together. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's how it felt like. It was like, yeah, I know these guys are mad about Trump not winning, but I guess, again, the lack of leadership is just sort of like, what is this going to solve?
Yeah.
You know, but again, it's like, when has it ever been a thing to be like upset that you lost? You know, I don't know, a lot of that is like, I mean, because I understand the lesson of the loss. Like, you learn something when you lose. And the fact that it seems like these guys don't want to accept the loss, it just shows another darker, I don't know, I'll say expectation or a certain way of having things, but in life, you don't always win.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, you might not ever win, but I guess to kind of whine and cry about it and even going and even try to, like, challenge it when it's already said. I don't know, it's just kind of just like, why is it that the loss is not a possibility but I mean, going back to how the world feels, like, I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm just going to behave inappropriately.
Yeah. Well, check this out. I got Google open here, and I told it to define a revolution.
Yeah.
Definition 1 is a forcible overthrow of a government or social order in favor of a new system. And then on the side here it says, in political science, a revolution is a fundamental and relatively sudden change in political power and political organization which occurs when the population revolts against the government, typically due to perceived oppression or political incompetence.
Yeah.
So maybe some of those guys out there were thinking they were doing, starting a revolution. Because they were trying to attack the government, I guess.
Yeah,
well, the word is that they were trying to stop the count, right? They were trying to stop the people from confirming Biden as president. Isn't that what the whole point was? They wanted.
I think so.
Wanted to stop him?
They wanted. I know. I saw a video of this guy saying that they wanted some of the states to audit the votes again, just to make sure things were in line.
Shit.
So, I think, that's what I'm saying, like, everybody kind of had a different, it was like, I don't know, it's like finding out you lost, but yeah, like, you go and recheck this and just like, especially like how big the country is. It's almost like people are gonna think that what they're asking is gonna make a big difference, but I really don't know. I don't know enough about the voting process. But all I do know is that I don't know what I know. But,
so another word I heard thrown around a lot.
Go back to what you're saying, revolution.
Well, another word that I kept hearing was insurrection. And it's the definition is a violent uprising against an authority or government. So I kept seeing that on the news. They were calling it insurrection. And there you go. It's a violent uprising against an authority or government.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm sure these people felt like they were in the right. And the way the government's been kind of just out for itself, I'm in support of a revolution or insurrection. Like
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
I'm torn on this whole thing because it's like, all
right. This would be awesome if it was in the right setting.
Yeah, or with the smarter or more meaningful reason behind it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, the government's not actually taking care of us, so let's fuck them up. But like, they were doing this for Trump. It was in Trump's name. It was because, like you said, Trump's a sore loser. Like, that was their whole thing. They were we're gonna storm the building and stop this voting. No, they didn't. As soon as this shit stopped, they started the voting count again. So it's like, part of me is like, yeah, I like the idea of like, hey, we're not gonna take this bullshit from the government anymore. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I don't like that it was done in Trump's name, and I don't like that, it was really one-sided. Like we mentioned a few times, it was a lot of just white people, really. Like, I mean, it probably wasn't entirely, but fuck.
Yeah,
I think it was just in poor taste, like, for the wrong reasons. I could get behind fighting for change for all of us, but not fighting for change on Trump's behalf. I feel like those people were just misguided. They're following the wrong man. Now, I guarantee Biden isn't going to be any better. Maybe as a presidential figure he will be, but I feel like it's still going to be business as usual as soon as he takes over. So I'm sick of all of that, of all of it. I kind of just don't want any part of it. It's like I don't want to be involved with all that crap because I don't believe there's anything us as little people can do to change it. And I know that sounds like I've given up or something, but it's like I'll throw my hat into the ring when it's for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to jump into, add to the anarchy. I'm not going to, hey, let's go fuck something up. I'm not going to get involved in that. But if it comes down to it, if we got to fight to be taken care of, I can get behind that. A movement or insurrection or fucking a revolution for, I don't know, peace, for a universal income, for a fucking healthcare, something where we all benefit equally versus, government as usual, just getting away with shit. Horrible people just getting away with shit.
Yeah.
It's like the cops. They've been killing people for so long, and they're just getting away with it. And that's why it kept happening, and why it keeps happening is they're getting away with it. These people who, I don't care if they're cops, if they're breaking the law, they're criminals. If they're killing people on purpose, they're criminals. I don't give a shit if they got a badge. So that's kind of how I feel about all this. It's like we're letting the criminals run the show right now, and they're the best kind of criminals because they don't go to jail for this shit. They just retire and go home. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm kind of torn about this whole event. It's like I liked seeing a group of people take action. I just didn't like what it was for.
Yeah. I guess there was no really passion, when we really want something, we see change or we want change, there has to be that passion, and I just really felt a lack of passion. Or maybe I just felt like there was nobody making any passionate statements. It was just kind of, I don't know. And then kind of a continuation of last year. This darkness, this kind of sky. You know, get on my afternoon again. You know, coming home to see these, and then already I passed that point where it's like these, they're calling them thugs and hooligans and
domestic terrorists.
Domestic terrorists, yeah. I mean, so, but yeah, like these guys are, it's pretty much taking over right now. But I don't know, man. It was a crazy week.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's been a crazy first couple of weeks of the year. It was kind of shocking and surprising to see this go on. But I think it's a sign of the times. Like people are fed up. I don't think this is going to be the last of it.
No.
I don't think it dies with Trump's presidency. I think the people are upset, and I think people aren't happy, and I think this is just the beginning. Because what I also saw in this is, you know, everybody saw it on the news, and I'm sure there's a ton of people out there that are thinking, man, we should do something. And then they saw that and how it played out, and they're like, hey, maybe we can do that too. You know, like, oh, there's another group out there that's just waiting for a sign, you know, like, oh, we want to attack, but when? We don't know. And then they saw that shit happen, and it kind of just died down. It was handled poorly to the point where it's like, all right, well, anybody can do that and not get punished for it. Like, yeah, people are getting arrested, but it happened. It already happened. They got away with it, and I'm a little worried about other people who saw that and said, well, we can do that too, and we'll get away with it. And it's like, even if that's not true, like, even if they're not going to get away with it, there's people out there that are going to think, yeah, maybe we can, and that's all they've been waiting for, to do what they want to do, and say that's 10 times worse than what happened. You know, this day-long revolt, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. No, I was thinking the same exact thing. I was like, man, what does this teach our kids? Like,
yeah. What is this going to lead to? This is like the beginning. That was like the opening credits to something much worse.
I mean, yeah, you don't get what you want, but yeah, doesn't mean you don't cause havoc and throw a fit about what you don't have.
Yeah.
But that's what it seems like is what's happening now. It's like a lot of kids getting thrown into situations where they gotta make adult decisions. Yeah. I know. It's not how it works.
Well, what's a trip is this is how we've kicked off this year. And a lot has happened in the past, like, month worth of time. We've got an entire year to go. And I'm starting to think that anything can happen. So
I mean, yeah. I mean, even just with us supposedly in the pandemic, you know?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the mission. big scare because I don't know if I'm getting more used to it, but like it feels like I'm more isolated than before. Like, I don't know, maybe there are times when I can get through a day where my only contact with people are through the phone. Yeah, I mean, that's normal, but yet, it just feels like there's more and more of virtual me and real life me. Because I'm having to work as a virtual me. Like, being there on the phone, clocking in. But I don't know. Sometimes it's like, is this the real me, or is this just me following the rules?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think I took this off. I took this off into the deep end. But, you know, a lot of this was the stuff we can get away with versus the stuff we can't get away with.
Yeah.
And what is fair versus what is not fair. And, like, even hearing where you're, like, not where you're at, but, like, I immediately thought, like, I wouldn't do this. But then, kind of knowing, like, I have my beefs with the government, too.
Yeah.
So, was this just the kind of wake-up call to be like, yeah, like, stand up versus actually know what's going on? You know? I don't know.
I don't know either. I think we should all be prepared for more.
Do you get like messages from your higher ups at work, like shit like this and stuff like this goes down? Do you get a message from your boss saying like, hey?
During, I want to say, I can't remember what it was. They were having like protests here in town.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I think it was the Black Lives Matter stuff. And I went into work once, and I guess they were supposed to have a protest the same night on the east side of town where I work. And when all the day people left, and we were the last ones in the building, like we were gonna be there overnight. They had me drive out and put big stacks of wood in front of the doors, the glass doors. Like I drove a forklift and drove them over and stacked them up high in front of the doors, and then on the inside I went through and put we covered the doors with plywood. I stacked up those big pieces of wood, and then we did pallets of block on the inside against the plyboards. And that kind of blew my fucking mind. Like, I was like, holy shit, are we really thinking that this is going to happen? Like this?
Oh, yeah.
These protests are going to spill over to the point where they're going to start, you know, what do they call it, looting? They're going to start looting our store? Like, that was an interesting thing. Like, I didn't expect that, but that came from the top. They're like, hey, barricade your doors because there's a protest going on the south side and it could get ugly. So like that night I was a little hyped up, like, ooh, like something could happen, something might happen. Like
Yeah.
every year we do some kind of training about, what do they call it, an active shooter?
Oh, yeah.
We have like active shooter training and all this shit where like we're supposed to be ready if something goes down at the store, like if somebody comes in, start like an old employee or something starts shooting. We have all these like plans in place to deal with it.
Yeah.
But like when I came in and just wasn't expecting it, and then like here we are barricading the doors like that. That was like a eye opener for me. But I think that's what you're asking is do we ever have orders from the top people of what to do in this situation? And yeah, I mean that was the closest thing. I didn't hear anything. Like I think I was either already on vacation or I was like one day away from it when all this shit happened. And all I did was watch it while I was awake during the day and then went to work and that was it. And I didn't hear anything about it. Nobody mentioned it at work. Nobody even talked about it. It was weird. Like, oh, did you see the shit that happened in D.C.? It's like nobody said a single thing. It was business as usual.
Whoa.
But I definitely told my baby's mom, like, she lives on her own, and I told her, I was like, look, get your shit together, get your gun ready, like whatever you got to do to feel safe, because shit might get crazy. Like there was a while back, I guess like right around the voting time for presidency, a large convoy, like huge, of maybe 50 to 100 cars covered in Trump flags were driving in this big circle in Tucson. Like they were driving down Alvernon from Speedway to Broadway, and then they took Broadway all the way up to Wilmot, and then they just went back the same way. And I guess they were all just, trying to raise awareness of the election. But when I saw that many cars, and I mean they went on almost a mile, like, of these cars, it blew my fucking mind. I was like, wow, there's that many supporters of Trump right here in Tucson. So I don't know what I'm getting at. I'm just saying, like, nothing came from this thing that happened in D.C. And a lot of times I feel like disconnected from shit that's going on outside of Tucson.
Huh.
Just like COVID, it's like it seems like nothing's going on. So it's easy to get complacent, but I still told Sarah, I was like, hey, have your gun on you, be ready if anything happens, and let me know, and I'll come running if anything happens. But nothing happened, as far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where it's like, it was, shit has gotten more drastic in the past where, you know you gotta look out for this one person, but like, you know what, these looters, like, or the shit that went down in Washington, it was just kind of like, I don't know, like, it was not accepted, but it was just kind of like we're gonna forget this and just kind of move on.
Yeah.
Just kind of like forget what these guys did. Already kind of being in that, let's just squash this.
Sweep it under the rug, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just gonna have to see, man. Trump's still in office another 15 days or something. Until the 20th, I guess that's 10 days. So this shit isn't over. I think it's only the beginning, and I think the more this whole COVID precautions carry on, the more stressed people are going to be, and the more, stuff like this is going to happen. Because people are fed up and tired and upset. So I say stay tuned, and we're going to find out, what comes next.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was thinking back, just everything going on, the land we know as the Americas has many histories.
Yeah. And
it just feels like the American history requires a lot of dodging information.
Yeah.
And not really, don't pay attention to that event because, I don't know, just kind of this prestige of a country we strive for is almost impossible, but if we don't, if we take out the prestige and just be glad we're a part of the country, then we might be able to do more. But I don't think that's how the world works. Or at least this part of the country. I mean, because we talk about other countries and not having issues, or at least dealing with the issues and then surviving them and knowing how to live. Yeah. We're kind of a unique country because we sort of just have information just available.
I don't know, man.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just sort of going into the forest.
I think we're going to have to start a whole other podcast here. You have anything else to say? I think I'm ready to call this thing.
I guess what was what we thought maybe what somebody thought they could get away with, or sort of what a picture they were trying to portray online or on film or whatever. But I don't know, the act, or even the if in reality, if there were a group of Native Americans or a tribe that was trying to fight for a cause or a way of behaving or a way of being treated, causing a place where they could debate or a place where they could eat together. And I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. I really don't know where I'm going with that, man.
I don't know either.
I think it's just been a long day, and what I was trying to say was there were people that were there that went out of their way to make it seem what it really wasn't. But because we live in this media-based world where, everyone has a camera on their phone, and, there are some people that actually have agendas, and yet in the film, it's just all they need is the film. So, like, us acting like a bunch of fools, breaking windows through the right lens, we can seem like a patriotic person, like, trying to fix the problem, but yet, in reality, it's just a dumbass that got motivation from another dumbass to break into a building where he should have respect for. But yeah, and, a lot of times it just seems like this new wave is like respect just got thrown out the window. And yet respect is kind of like was what keeps everybody together. So I guess what I was trying to say was I saw a lot of people trying to portray this picture of like this new generation standing up for each other, but in reality they were just acting. And I think that's something I hope we change about the world, is like we can pretend. And like with social media, like sometimes we pretend we're doing well, or there's people that pose on like that they're living this extravagant lifestyle, but in reality, it's just a persona that they play on the internet.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that almost creates this illusion that what seems simple is really difficult. And we talk about a revolution, like the requirements of causing that. Like, I don't know if anybody in this time is willing to go that far. Or, again, if there was a leader that was really had his shit together and trying to really cause a change, versus just kind of like, go and cause a ruckus because I didn't win. I don't know, it's just like, again, the power we give a person. But I don't know, man, like, do we vote? Does this mean we encourage voting? Like, where do we move on? Us being where we're from, where we're coming from. How do we move forward with this type of shenanigans going on? Like, how does that help us, or how does that hurt us? That's the real question.
I think we just played a big part in making us look weak and vulnerable. That's what I think they accomplished. And I'm sure that wasn't their point. But I think we just made ourselves open for attack. And not just by Americans, but by other countries.
Yeah.
So I think we should all keep our eyes peeled and be ready for something. I think this is only the beginning. And I just hope everybody out there is being safe, staying aware, and just being ready. Learn your survival skills now while you still can. And whatever happens, let's try to be ready for it. Let's stay ahead of it. Because what's a trip is, even with like this small, petty shit going on, like it's like people problems.
Yeah.
At the same time, we could be hit by a solar flare, fucking a volcano can erupt. Like anything can happen. And I think this is just a sign of that too. It's like I don't think anybody saw this coming except Trump and the people who went out on his behalf. And I would suspect that a lot of the people that were involved in that shit have been wanting something like that. They've been itching to pull the trigger. Like they all show up with their guns and then not a bullet gets fired. So I bet they're all itching to pull the trigger. And when something like this goes on and it doesn't get shot down right away, it just makes things, it makes all those dreamers, all those people who want to do something but don't, I think it emboldens them. So I'm kind of worried about what comes next.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a aftermath of how we've been living.
Yeah.
I got a little clip of a podcast of Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan, and Chappelle was kind of talking about how this quarantine has kind of had the American population sort of have to kind of embrace their decisions of why they are the situation they are, and for a massive group of people to have to come to reality of maybe where they're at versus where they want to go. And I think that's where a lot of us, at least, that's how I feel where I represent. It's just sort of like, I don't know, having to go out and having to chase things versus it coming to you. The world requires you to go out and actually chase it. Man, I'm all over the place, dude.
Yeah, where are you going with this? Sounds like you want to keep going for another hour on this. I don't know where you're going with it.
I think it's just kind of like, I don't know where I'm going with it. It's a lot of it is like, learn from this mistake that these guys made.
Okay.
And then some of it feels like it's like we made this mistake and we're attached to it, even though we weren't there.
Yeah.
It still shows, even internationally, that we might be a country that is not exactly as secure as we portray in film and TV.
I think we could all wind up paying for this. I think it was a bad call. And like I said, I think it made us look weak as a country. And, whether we agree with it or not, we're part of it. Like, the rest of the world sees us all as those people.
Yeah.
So, if anybody decides to step up and do something about it, we will all pay for it.
Yeah.
So, let's be safe out there, everybody. Like, this, I really think this is just the beginning.
Yeah. It's, be strategic, like, I mean, in this time in the world where, I guess the way we're viewed or the way we're categorized, and what that might mean to another group of people. I don't know. It's just from the history books, and I saw that earlier too, where it said like our history books are whitewashed. To believe that this American history is just like this one of promise and upcoming, and yet like reflecting back on what just happened on Monday, it was like we look like a bunch of whining babies, you know, that didn't get what they wanted. You know, you could argue it that way. So, I don't know, man. It's disrespect to the country, but it's also sort of like even deeper disrespect to, I guess, the land. We talk about the land, like how much you love the land and how much I identify with the land, but like, the little people are doing on it, you know?
Hmm.
But, like you said, somewhere in the middle of it, there is, some people thought they were doing the right thing, and I guess that's where the conflict is, where you kind of gotta being open, because I guess that's the American part about being open to what everybody else feels.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm split on all of it. I'm split on the whole thing.
Yeah. Well,
I'll say it one more time. This is probably just the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. We're barely in January.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, us taking on the role of podcasting, where we're sort of in charge to dig into it. So, if anything, we have something to dissect, but I wish it wasn't the integrity of the prestigious American culture, you know. But I don't know, man. I guess you wonder how people feel about us in other countries.
Oh, we're not liked everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I hear. But
that's going to be for another podcast, my man.
Well, what do we do?
I think we need to call this as like we're at this point we're rambling.
Yeah.
Like
I've been rambling.
Like we're going on 2 hours here.
Well?
Yeah, dude. The recorder says 1 hour and 43 minutes.
All right.
Like, I think you've. I mean, unless you don't really feel like you've made your point, but I think you have. Like, I don't know, man. This whole thing has made me feel not safe, and not so much me personally, but like the country. I think it was a foolish thing that happened. And like I said, I don't think it's over. Like even if we're just talking in terms of Trump support and more crazy shit that Trump can say, he still has another 10 days, 10 or 15 days, and shit, it's been a wild ride already, and I think it's only gonna get wilder, you know?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah. We'll check back in next week on the next episode, and who knows what'll happen by then.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 2020 all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, but it's just, you know, the momentum just picked up.
Yeah.
You know, even when I thought I was going to kind of wind down and feel a little bit like we were going in a direction, and this direction is just kind of bizarre because I don't know. It looks like there was a lot of people that would have wanted to do this, and they would have had actual reasons for doing so. What we saw was people disappointed about the election, just kind of tearing shit up. I don't know. Like I said, yeah, let's get with the bar, man. I just felt like even watching it, I was just sort of like, what the hell?
Yeah.
A joke. A really bad joke.
Totally.
But yeah, bro.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
There you have it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Tune in next week. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notifications bell. And we'll be here every week. We're going to be with you the whole way through this year. And as long as shit goes right, we'll have a season 3.
Yeah, of course.
All right, everybody. I'm going to hit that red button. And here we go.